O. Henry's writing is accurate, and both accurate and fascinating. And he infuses the Cisco Kid with elements of the legendary Spanish lover Don Juan, mixed with elements of the legendary rebel bandit Joaquin Murrieta. Now, the first film to be made about the Cisco Kid is a silent movie called The Caballero's Way. This is based on the first Cisco Kid short story. This is in 1914. This is made by Universal. Sadly, it's lost. I've never seen it. If you never know with lost films, they're popping up. Lost films pop up every day. Something pops up every day. So who knows? I may get a chance to see this movie one day. It's directed by Webster Collison, and Cisco is played by William R. Dunn. As I mentioned, this silent film is sadly lost, and it's based on the first Cisco Kid short story from the collection of short stories known as Hearts of the West. All right, now, the next Cisco Kid film is in Old Arizona. This is 1929. This is, in fact, the first major sound Western and introduces music to the Western genre. It's directed by the great Raoul Walsh. In Old Arizona is a notable feature. Its use of outdoor sound is very important. This is a very important Western. The use of outdoor sound, hoofbeats, gunshots, sizzling bacon. It's an important movie. Warner Baxter, who I mentioned is a very, very big star in the 1930s and played Joaquin Murrieta, plays the Cisco Kid. He wins an Oscar for his performance in 1929. Baxter takes on many ethnic roles, Spanish, Italian, Greek. He has that kind of face, like Anthony Quinn. Arizona, in Old Arizona, is a darker vision than the typical Cisco Kid movie. Cisco is, in fact, betrayed by the girl he loves, and this betrayal nearly costs him his life, and he ends up killing the girl in revenge. Now, Baxter plays the Cisco Kid again in 1930 in a film known as The Cisco Kid. In Old Arizona, it's a very, very popular movie, makes tons of money, and there's a sequel quickly made by Fox. Sequels at this point in time don't happen very often, so this tells you just how much of an impact this movie had in Old Arizona in 1929. Well, the Cisco Kid from 1930 is infused with an element of romanticism. The plot revolves around a damsel in distress. Baxter's performance is charming. It's a complex interpretation. As I mentioned, there's an element of romanticism infused here. And the hero rides off into the sunset, cheating death and the hangman. He does not swing from a rope, which is probably what would have happened in actual life. All right, now, there's a third Cisco Kid film featuring Warner Baxter. This is known as The Return of the Cisco Kid. This is in 1939. This third Warner Baxter entry lacks the prestige or the budget of the two other Baxter films, but it was a big, big commercial success. And Fox speedily gets a film series underway with Cesar Romero as Cisco. Romero is actually in The Return of the Cisco Kid as one of Baxter's sidekicks. Now, the plot of The Return of the Cisco Kid revolves around Cisco taking a holiday from Derry Do and struggling with a crooked lawyer and being involved in a love triangle. Well, this is Baxter's final film as the Cisco Kid. He basically feels he's had enough of the role, and he moves on. Well, Fox brings in Romero. Now, Cesar Romero was, in fact, of Cuban ancestry. He was a nightclub dancer in the 1920s, and he clicks in Hollywood in the late 1930s. He's a tremendously successful and useful actor at Fox. He's essentially the other man in Fox, at the Fox studio. He's in a series of frothy Technicolor musicals with Sonia Henney, Alice Faye, Betty Grable, and he always loses the girl. to the Anglo lead actor, usually George Montgomery or John Payne. Well, Romero has good looks and a sense of sophistication. He has a very, very fruitful, versatile, long career, 60 years, in both ethnic and mainstream roles. He's best remembered today for the Joker in the original Batman, very campy Batman series from 1966 to 1968. Now, Romero does 6 Cisco films for Fox between 1940 and 1942. They're very, very popular, and they make lots and lots of money. All right, these films are, let's see if I can remember them all. The Gay Caballero, 1940. Cisco Kid and the Lady, 1940 as well. Lucky Cisco Kid. Romance on the Rio Grande. This is 1941. Viva Cisco Kid and Ride on Vaquero. These are 1942. Now, the plots of these films focus on Cisco's love life. This becomes the main emphasis of the Cesar Romero Cisco Kid films. Now, Fox sells the Cisco Kid series, along with the Charlie Chan series, to Monogram Pictures. Monogram is the king of the Poverty Row studios. They don't have the budgets of the major studios. And, well, their shooting schedules are 2 to 3 weeks instead of 6 to 8 weeks. Well, Romero quits. Cesar Romero quits and goes into the Navy. Remember, this is World War II. This is 1942. And Monogram finds a new Cisco Kid, Duncan Ronaldo. Now, Ronaldo is a Spanish orphan. He's born in Spain. He goes to Hollywood, and he rises to fame in 1931 with the film Trader Horn. He has immigration problems. Apparently, he didn't have his papers. He jumped ship, so to speak. And he's arrested by the immigration authorities. Well, there's a presidential pardon in 1932. And Ronaldo goes on to do a lot of work for 4 decades in film, radio, serials, and television. He does, 4 films for Monogram. The Cisco Kid Returns, 1944. Romance of the Rio Grande, 1945. In Old New Mexico, also 1945. And South of the Rio Grande, 1946. Now, these films are made on, as I mentioned, smaller budgets, and they're formula movies. They don't have the psychological depth or sophistication of the Fox Cisco Kid films. But Ronaldo puts his own spin on the Cisco Kid. It's a gentler, non-violent Cisco Kid. And, he moves on after a while. Monogram fires Ronaldo and hires Gilbert Roland. Now, Gilbert Roland was a Latin... He's of Mexican descent. He's born in Mexico, the son of a bullfighter. He has good looks and machismo. He's a Latin lover during the late silent era, but becomes a very, very busy character actor during the sound era. He's one of the few actors to make a successful transition from silent film to sound film. Now, Roland's version of the Cisco Kid is darker. He gives Cisco a sense of menace and a capacity for violence. When he tells you he's going to kill you, you believe it. All right, now he does 6 films in rapid succession for Monogram between 1946 and 1948. They are the Gay Cavalier, 1946, Beauty and the Bandit, also 1946, South of Monterey, also 1946, Riding the California Trail in 1947, the Robin Hood of Monterey in 47, and the King of the Bandits in 1948. Roland quits. Gilbert Roland quits after making 6 movies. He's bored with the role, and he wants to move on to do other things. So Monogram brings back Duncan Ronaldo, who does 2 films that are much better than his previous monogram efforts, The Valiant Hombre, 1948, and The Gay Amigo, 1949. This is where Leo Carrillo enters the picture. These two films are very, very popular. Carrillo, playing Pancho, gives a new life to the Cisco Kid. Carrillo's very, very important to the Cisco Kid formula. And both Ronaldo and Carrillo infuse Cisco and Pancho with a sense of confidence and optimism. Now, the Cisco Kid film series makes the transition to television in 1949 and becomes a very, very popular television program between 1949 and 1956. Now, let me talk a little bit about Leo Carrillo, who plays Pancho in the two films and for the television series for 7 years. Now, Carrillo is a very, very important factor. He's a familiar, welcome figure in many, many films. He does over 150 movies in Hollywood, and he alternates between funny character roles and menacing henchmen. He's the ultimate sidekick. He's versatile, educated, and talented. He reads, writes, speaks 7 languages. And the chemistry between Duncan Ronaldo and Leo Carrillo is just magical. And the television series is very, very popular between 1949 and 1956. And it's only canceled because Leo Carrillo dies. And Ronaldo doesn't want to do the series without him. So after the cancellation of the TV series, due to Carrillo's death, the Cisco Kid and Pancho characters kind of go into limbo for decades, even though the show is very, very popular in reruns. Well, the Cisco Kid makes a comeback in 1994 with a made-for-cable HBO television movie starring Jimmy Smits as Cisco and Richard Cheech Marin from Cheech and Chong as Pancho. This movie is directed by Luis Valdez, and, well, it's a lighthearted, uninspired, and rather routine movie. It takes place during the Juarez Uprising, 1867, against Emperor Maximilian. Smits, Cisco, is supplying guns to the rebels, and Pancho, Cheech, is, well, a true believer. Cisco is not. And he spends the majority of the movie trying to convince Cisco to become a revolutionary. This movie is a disappointment, considering the talents involved. I consider it a misfire. Valdez, who has directed a number of fine films, Stand and Deliver, for example, La Bamba, Zoot Suit, well, this movie doesn't quite hit the target. All right, let's move on to